Welcome to the Third House podcast. I'm Erica, your host, and together we'll unravel the astrological and psychological tapestry that shapes our lives. Join me on this exploration towards our deepest potential and authentic selves. I can't wait to connect on our journey of self-discovery, so let's dive in. What is up, everyone? We have made it to March, and let me tell you, I think March is going to be an interesting month. We have so much happening in March and April. And it's just, it's kind of crazy how we're here. I've been tracking this. I've been looking at March of 2025 for at least 6-7 months. So I'm sort of really anticipating. I've been anticipating this for a while. We have the eclipses. We have, Mars just recently, the last week of February, went direct. So now we're sort of initiating, or hopefully initiating, that forward movement around our actions, our motivations, our desires. But this time it's sort of like with the eclipses, we have beginnings and we have endings, and Venus and Mercury are also going retrograde, So Mercury and Venus will be going retrograde throughout March and will eventually go direct and be conjunct the North Node again. So it's sort of like my head is spinning when I'm looking at March. This is just, as if you follow me for a while, this is a juicy month. I think a lot is going to happen collectively and individually. Now, with that being said, this is not conclusive. This doesn't include every transit, every nitty-gritty detail. However, I will do a whole separate podcast episode on the eclipses, what series they're part of, sort of the OG eclipse that birthed this series, how, what degrees and things to look at in your chart based off of the original OG eclipse that sort of initiated the series that these eclipses this month are part of, what family they're part of, basically, to hopefully give us a little bit more clues as to what they can sort of bring up for us, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. I will also do a separate podcast episode on Neptune entering Aries. So we've had Pluto's final ingress into Aquarius. Now we're having Neptune starting its ingress into Aries, which is huge. I think this is a really big moment collectively, also individually, but I think we're going to really see some stuff unfold here, especially with Saturn eventually joining Neptune here. So this is like sort of part of the slower outer planets and Saturn starting to move into new territory, which is really huge. So I'll do separate podcast episodes on that because of the importance and the magnitude of it. But again, this doesn't include your natal chart, so please refer to your natal chart. You can also check out the description below with all my offerings, link to my website, etc., etc. With that being said, let's get into March because my head is spinning looking at this month. Hello, Aries risings. Now, we literally kick off on March 1st when Venus goes retrograde in Aries, your first house of self, physical body, appearance, identity. And Venus will eventually retrograde back into your Pisces 12th house of the subconscious. We'll get to that in a moment. But Venus will retrograde back into your Pisces 12th house on March 27th. But for now, Venus retrograding in your first house of self. Now, more specifically, Venus rules your second house of earned income, gifts, talents, also your 7th house of personal and professional partnerships. So where can you maybe take a step back? Pause. Where are you reviewing, revising, changing maybe what you find really valuable about yourself? And how are you integrating sort of your own gifts, talents, within that identity. Some of you, it might be very simple. It might be reviewing and revising your finances to invest in your physical body, your appearance, and your identity. Some of you might also be looking at, who's really on team Aries, who is, reviewing and revising your personal and professional partnerships that create the balance you need that supports your needs versus the needs of others. So this Venus retrograde could be a great time to really start thinking about new ways of being or a new chapter involving the area of your physical body, your appearance, your identity. How do you want to show up in the world? And how can this new chapter start to integrate more of your innate gifts and talents? And also integrate the potential, the area of partnership, where maybe this new chapter is going to help you step into balancing your needs versus the needs of others to create more valuable personal and professional partnerships that also help you financially thrive, but also incorporate and, see your gifts, your talent. So overall, I think this could be whatever it is. This could be an excellent time because Venus is will start a new 18-month cycle soon. So this is an excellent time to start really thinking about what do you want the next roughly 18 months to look like in terms of creating that new chapter around how you want to show up in the world, how you want to be seen, how you want to create more, integrate more gifts, talents, partnerships that feel good for you. So this is a good time to start thinking about that. At the end of the month, Venus will step into that new Venus, just like a new moon, after the eclipses sort of finish up. So very interesting, the timing of it. And then we get to March 14th. So March 14th is the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. So if you know your chart and you have anything close to 23 degrees, you want to really consider those placements in this culminating or closing moment. Now, this is a full moon lunar eclipse, so you could feel this 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. Eclipses are very unpredictable. So you could feel this going into March with that Venus going retrograde. But March 14th is the official full moon lunar eclipse at that 23rd degree in Virgo. Now, this full moon eclipse is really, it's a supercharged illumination around your 6th house of daily work, health, routines, and coworkers. So what's going on with health and wellness routines, relationships with coworkers that could be culminating, closing, coming to, maybe work projects, side businesses, anything within those areas could be, coming to fruition or coming to a close. Coming to a close doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It could be also a health situation really coming to light. So this could be an excellent time to sort of start looking at the health, the work, and sort of the routines in a new light. What is no longer serving you around your health, your work, your routines, or relationships with coworkers that maybe some of you can use this full moon lunar eclipse to kind of close out, say goodbye to. So this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, Mercury rules over the area of Virgo. And what's interesting is the ruler of this eclipse is gearing up to go retrograde in your 1st house of the physical body, the self. So I think for some of you, this could be like definitely like a health and wellness, because anytime I see 1st and 6th house connections like I do here, like something is being culminated or really illuminated around your health, work, and routines that is gearing you up to review and revise sort of how that's really serving your physical body, maybe your appearance, how you want to show up in the world. And because the first and the sixth are in a quincunx configuration, this might require some adjustment as you review and revise. I would say just whatever comes up, give yourself grace, give yourself time, patience to use that Mercury retrograde on March 15th in Aries at 9 degrees to review and revise what is really serving your health, your work, what routines are really going to set you up for success with your health and your work. Now, Mercury also rules your Gemini third house. So as this eclipse is really culminating and happening, what else can you share? How can you communicate, exchange information to help make that adjustment or change with work, health, routines that can really help you feel good in your body? On March 27th, that Venus will retrograde back into your Pisces 12th house. Now, Venus is exalted in your Pisces 12th house, so in terms of essential dignity and how well resourced the planet is, Venus really likes to be in Pisces. So that could help, but this could also sort of be bringing back what's been going on mentally, subconsciously, sleep, solitude, meditation, where you might be really thinking deeply or taking more time alone to think deeply about your gifts, your talents, your finances, and personal, professional partnerships. Now, Venus, at this point, when Venus retrogrades back into this area, sort of bringing the finances, the partnerships, the gifts, the talents, bringing that back up mentally for many of you, I think. This Venus is now a new Venus, like I mentioned in the beginning. Just like a new Venus is like a new moon. And so a new 18-month cycle. And whatever's coming up mentally, it could really be an opportunity to help you create that new 18th month cycle around your personal and professional partnerships, your finances, your gifts, and your talents. But it could all start mentally. What are those dreams? Where do you limit yourself, self-sabotage yourself? How can you sort of release what is really not serving you? But, when we're talking about Venus, like what is not valuable to you, you know? And so this could really be a potent time of creating that new 18th month cycle of like, what do you want to gestate and birth in terms of your finances, your gifts, your talents, personal, professional partnerships. Now, March 29th, there will be a new moon solar eclipse in your Aries first house of self at 9 degrees. So if you have anything around 9 degrees, anywhere in your chart, you really want to consider that placement, that aspect, if you know. But regardless, this new moon solar eclipse in Aries is a new opportunity, a new chapter around your physical body, appearance, and identity. So you can start to see how this whole month is really tying in sort of your work, your gifts, your talents, the health and the work that is maybe affecting your physical body. How do you want to strengthen your physical vessel, to be able to use your gifts and talents in the world. Our wealth is in our health. Our wealth is in our health. Yeah. Our health, you know what I'm saying. I think this whole month is, opportunities, beginnings, endings around, I think ultimately like getting you to serve you in terms of your physical body and you like being able to be in the body to do what you want to do in the world, Pluto has finally moved out of your Capricorn 10th house, not too long ago. So there's been a lot of upheaval and change and transformation in that area since 2008, in addition to it affecting all the other angular parts of your chart. So it's sort of like, how can you maybe step into this new cycle in a way where it's like, how can you release the past, step into, focusing on strengthening the physical body, strengthening your appearance, strengthening your identity so that you can do what you want to do in the world. And this new moon, solar eclipse, is in the first house of self. And it's really the last new moon solar eclipse in your Aries first house of self for, off the top of my head, maybe another 8 or 9 years. So really good time to think about what is really going to strengthen and serve you so that you can live the life that you want to live. And remember, Venus is retrograding in your 12th house of that subconscious, sort of helping you get clear on what you really love and value, what you really need to sort out mentally so that you can take the mental and make a tangible experience with it, specifically around your finances, your gifts, your talents, and your partnerships. Now, what's interesting is the ruler of this eclipse in your Aries first house of self just recently went direct at the end of February, Mars. So Mars will be moving finally direct. It will still be in your Cancer fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So the ruler of this eclipse being in your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate, some of you might really be looking at your living situation, your location, maybe relocation, redecoration, renovations, relationships with family, and how, anchoring yourselves into what feels like a strong foundation or sacred place can really help, or, relationships with certain family members can help strengthen or create that new chapter that you want to start around your physical body, appearance, or identity. Now, additionally, when this new moon solar eclipse is happening again, Mars makes my head spin. Mercury retrogrades back into your Pisces 12th house. So this is an additional clue for me that Mercury is now sort of retrograding back into the area of the subconscious, sort of having you also think about, your communication, your day-to-day environment, your health, your daily work, your routines. So I think for a lot of Aries risings throughout March, even a little bit into April, it could be sort of this like mental, I think a lot's going to be going on internally. I think a lot of you overall might be sorting out, okay, mentally, like, what do I really need to do about my health, my daily work, my routines, my partnerships, my finances? What are my gifts, my talents? I think you're going to be sort of mentally untangling to ultimately be able to move forward and create new chapters that support your physical body, appearance, identity, and so on and so forth. So I think very, very interesting month for Aries risings, but I would expect things to be a very internal thing. If you are sort of internalizing and sort of mentally untangling things in those areas that I mentioned, again, Mars is moving direct. How can you lean on maybe close people you live with, or family members, or, the foundation or sacred spaces you have in your life to sort of help you or support that mental untangling around, all right, it's time to take care of my body, my health, focus on the work I want to do, the gifts, the talents, and even the finances. So very, very interesting. Again, stay tuned for those, the Eclipse podcast, where I'll go into a lot more detail around sort of the family of eclipses that this eclipse is, or the the series that this eclipse is part of, and how that can give us additional clues as to what these eclipses will maybe specifically mean on a deeper level. And lastly, March 30th, boom, Neptune enters Aries. It's been a long time. So for you as an Aries rising, Neptune entering your first house of self, physical body, appearance, and identity, Neptune dissolves. So again, this is an additional clue for me. What is going on where a lot of you Aries risings are maybe gearing up to dissolve, to let go of old, outdated patterns or structures that really don't support your physical body, appearance, identity anymore. So this is when that could start to really trickle in. Now, Neptune entering your first house could really initiate a journey of finding ways to feel good in your physical body again. Again, this could also be about dissolving outdated emotions and identities that no longer serve or affect you in negative ways regarding, how you want to show up in the world, how you want other people to view you. So I think for a lot of Aries risings, again, it depends on your personal chart, but a lot of what looks to be unfolding and throughout March seems to really be setting this stage in all these other areas of your life regarding how it's ultimately going to support you. Hello, Taurus risings. We literally kick off March 1st with Venus going retrograde. So Venus will start the retrograde in your Aries 12th house of the subconscious, where you seek solitude, meditation, sleep. So Venus starting the journey in this Aries 12th house of the subconscious, it will eventually retrograde back into your Pisces 11th house of social network, long-term goals on March 27th. So we'll get to that towards the end of the month. But for now, Venus retrograding in your Aries 12th house of the subconscious is really important for you, Taurus rising, because Venus is your ruling planet. It rules your physical body, your appearance, your identity. It also rules your Libra 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. So mentally, a lot of you could be really thinking about sort of maybe changing your appearance, changing work, routines, relationships with coworkers, maybe a health or wellness journey that is going to really support your physical body and appearance. So some of you might be starting a sort of the mental journey around how can I create more value? How can I strengthen and create more value, not only to my physical body and how I want to show up in the world, but also my work, my health, and my routines. And for you, it's just starting in that mental, sort of more hidden space. This could also, signal for some of you, again, if I see it, I say it. Some of you might be seeking a little bit more solitude. Some of you might be seeking more solitude to sort out, okay, how do I want to change how I show up in the world? How do I want to change my work, my health, my routines? So some of you just might be seeking, like, generally just more solitude, and valuing solitude and rest to start sort of untangling, okay, how do I really want to show up in 2025? Who do I want to be in 2025? And how can I also integrate that within my daily work and health routines? Or how does my daily work, health, and routines support that person? Mercury will join this retrograde, so we'll get to that as well, because that is also going to play a part in sort of this interesting this interesting story around this really strong revisionary period, which for Taurus risings is starting in that mental space that you may not be sharing with everyone. It's going to be up in, lots going on mentally. Now, what's important about this Venus retrograde is how can you start thinking about a new way of being? Again, specifically around Venus is going to become a new Venus, just like a new moon at the end of this month. So this is a really opportunistic time to start thinking about, especially Venus being your ruling planet, what new 18-month cycle do you really want to step into? What new ways of being involving your physical body, your health, your work, your routines? Some of you might be creating a new 18th month cycle around, your work. Maybe you're changing the way you want to work. If you zoom out, remember Pluto just made that final ingress into your Aquarius 10th house of career and public recognition. So some of you might really be thinking about, what do I want to transform, change about my work? How do I want to empower who I am and how I show up with my work? Now, I think that Mercury retrograde that I'll get to is going to play into sort of reviewing and revising your innate gifts and talents and how that might be playing into the story. But I'll get to that. But I think the most important thing about this Venus going retrograde on March 1st is this opportunity to review and revise. What do you love and value? Where do you want to create more love and value around your physical body, your identity, your work, health, routines over the next roughly 18 months, where Venus is going to become a morning star towards the end of this month and, be a totally Venus becoming a morning star, especially with Venus being your ruling planet, is a very different Venus. It's sort of like the story is, when she's an evening star, it's sort of like she descends to the underworld. And when she becomes a morning star, it not only creates a new 18th month cycle in our chart, and lives basically, but it's sort of, she's risen from the underworld, and it's this opportunity to really sort of start something new. And for you, I think it's really involving, your work, your physical body, your identity, etc. So really, really, I can't stress it enough. Really opportunistic time, especially for Taurus risings, because it is your ruling planet. This could be bringing up similar circumstances from 2016, 2017, where you can choose a different path. You can choose something different, and you can choose something more loving and more valuable for you with the wisdom and the life experience that you gained since 2016, 2017. And on March 14th, full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. This is an eclipse. So if I'm being honest, some of you could really start to feel and see the direct impacts from the eclipse about 2 weeks before, even 2 weeks after. So yes, it's on the 14th, but a lot of the time in my personal experience and working with people one-on-one, you see things shift and happen and culminate prior to that. So yes, on the 14th, but please be aware, at least 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. Now for you, this full moon lunar eclipse at 23 degrees is happening in your Virgo 5th house of joy. Also children, if that's applicable to you, creative projects, creative pursuits, and romance. So something could be really illuminating and highlighting and even closing out a creative project, a creative pursuit. There could be something culminating around what is bringing you joy. Now, again, for those of you who, Pluto going into the 10th house, I'm zooming out to try to give some perspective here because I really try not to zoom in on a particular placement. It's all part of this living organism, this story unfolding. So with this full moon lunar eclipse in your 5th house, Pluto ingressing into your 10th house of career, the Venus retrograde, eventually the Mercury retrograde, is sort of like, how can you use this time to also consider what is really going to align you to your joy? And that might be, involving a career situation, a romantic situation, a childcare situation. It could also involve sort of maybe you're culminating or seeing a different way to pursue your creativity or your creative projects. Either way, by house, the 5th house trines the 1st house. So whatever is culminating, changing, ending around creativity, self-expression, children, romantic situations, and really just like where you feel, what you do to fill yourselves with joy, whatever's being illuminated, culminated in this area, trying to look at this eclipse as not only an opportunity to align yourselves to see where the path to joy is, but also because it trines the 1st house, what is going to ultimately support your identity, your appearance, your physical body, how you want to show up in the world. So if you're a creative, an artist, this full moon could be packed with a punch, especially with the Venus retrograde and then Mercury going retrograde. There could be major changes to your artistic expression, how you want to dress, self-express, etc., etc. So again, I'll get into more detail with the eclipse podcast episode. But what's particularly interesting is that the ruler of this eclipse, Mercury, is gearing up to go retrograde the following day on March 15th. So this eclipse finally happens, but you could probably feel it weeks before. And the ruler of that eclipse is gearing up to go retrograde. So whatever shifts or changes or endings around, maybe your creative projects, your creative pursuits, children, romance, really just like where you're having fun or your idea of fun. Whatever shifts and changes, that Mercury going retrograde on March 15th tells me it's going to probably initiate a revisionary period around your finances, your gifts, your talents, in addition to those 5th house themes that I mentioned. So whatever shifting and changing is definitely having you look at sort of your innate gifts and talents, how that plays a part in what's coming up, if it's creativity, artistic, if it's more just general fun, joy, romance, as well as children, it will more than likely bring up sort of the revisionary period around finances and how that's maybe playing a part, what needs to be reviewed, revised in terms of, the direction you want to take, the things you want to change, culminate, initiate, with this 5th house really starting to amplify over the next 18 months. So big things this month. Now, March 27th, like I mentioned in the beginning, Venus, your ruling planet, is going to retrograde back into your Pisces 11th house. Some of you actually might start to feel a bit better with this because, Venus is retrograding back into the area of its place of exaltation. So Venus by essential dignity has, a lot more points, a lot more resources in Pisces. So some of you might really start to be looking at your social network, your dreams, your aspirations, your long-term goals, where, you know, Venus rules your physical body. It also rules your daily work, your health, and your routine. So this could be the part where um, Venus retrograding back into your Pisces 11th house could really start to have you look at your social network, your friends, your groups, your communities, and your long term goals in a different way, and how they're providing some opportunity for you, or where they can provide opportunity for you, and also help sort of support any natural flow to the area of communication and also personal and professional partnerships. So I think this is interesting because this is also now a new Venus, like a new moon, sort of helping you create a new 18th month cycle where now maybe it was initially sort of more in the mental space for you, like you're thinking about, who you are, how you want to show up, changes to work, health, or routines. Now, I think this is the time where maybe you've thought about it, you've kind of set your mental intention. And now Venus is this new Venus starting that new 18-month cycle, but it retrograded back. It is now retrograded back into your Pisces 11th house. So now it's sort of like maybe you're communicating it, you're sharing it with personal, professional partnerships, you're sort of integrating that to create more value to your long term goals, your dreams, your aspirations. Because it went from a very solitude, introverted house into a very social house that creates positive configurations to your third house of communication and your seventh house of partnership. So I think this is where you set that new 18-month cycle, and now maybe you start to share it with your world, share it with the world, or you start to initiate creating more value in your social networks and your long-term goals. Now, March 29th, we have the new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees. So if you have anything around 9 degrees in your natal chart, you definitely want to take that into consideration. But regardless, March 29th, new moon, new beginnings, new opportunities in the area of your subconscious thought patterns, your dreams, solitude, rest, recharge, taking time for yourself. Now, this is the last eclipse in Aries for a while, roughly off the top of my head, maybe 8-9 years. So, really, really great time to start setting new ways of thinking, thought patterns, subconscious thought patterns that are really going to support you with what you want to do, what you need to do. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mars, and Mars is direct in your Cancer third house of communication. So, whatever, where can you create new systems, new beginnings, plant new positive seeds around like positive subconscious thought patterns, where the ruler, Mars, is been direct for a little bit. Moving forward, helping you maybe initiate the plan of action, the motivations, the desires, where it once was sort of sorted out or maybe untangled mentally. And now I think a lot of Taurus risings, it seems like towards the end of March into April, it seems like a lot of you might be starting to sort of now move out of the introversion and sort of move it out externally. So I think there could be definitely communicating what's necessary, sort of creating the plan of action, the motivations, the desires in your immediate day-to-day environment to support the long-term goals, to support the value to your social network, as well as sort of your work, your health, your routines that ultimately support your physical body. Now, additionally, on March 29th, Mercury will retrograde back into your Pisces 11th house. So, this is where I think you might start to review and revise not only sort of the social network and the long term goals, like I mentioned with Venus, but now it's sort of tying in what brings you joy. Where are your gifts, your talents, and even financial situations playing into those long term goals? So I think you might be maybe communicating in different ways involving your gifts and your talents to sort of align yourself to maybe new long term goals, dreams, aspirations, maybe taking a different perspective or look at your social network. And, maybe some of you might be using your gifts and talents in ways that are totally new. And it's kind of shifting your perspective on your creative self expression or, what brings you joy in terms of that. Some of you, on a very simple level, with this might start to consider reviewing and revising sort of the financial situation and how, in many ways it can be necessary, even if it's a little bit, just to budget the fun, the joy, the sociability, um, you know, romance, self-expression in your day-to-day life as well. So it could be very, very simple. But I definitely think reviewing and revising the finances, the gifts, and the talents regarding your social network, your long-term goals, and sort of ultimately aligning yourselves or seeing the end goal, hopefully, as, what is going to ultimately bring me joy. Now, March 30th, Neptune enters Aries. It has been a long time. Now, Neptune entering Aries on March 30th for you, Taurus rising. This is entering your 12th house. So, this could initiate a completely new way of thinking and perception where all possibilities become clear through maybe releasing any personal expectation. So, where we sort of release what no longer serves us around limiting beliefs, where you sabotage yourself, releasing and dissolving those things can sort of help you mentally maybe see more paths, more possibilities, and sort of, with Saturn entering the picture this year can really help, I think, Taurus risings. I think it's sort of like they say, like, what is it, like breaking out of the matrix. Like, I think there's going to be a lot, I think, on the other side of 2025, even 2026. I think a lot of you are going to start seeing or perceiving life in a very different way, where you can really create a totally new way of thinking, which, our thoughts create our reality. So I think, especially with Saturn, which I'll talk about in the Neptune podcast, I think this is a really opportunistic time, especially after the eclipses this month, to really start thinking about what's changed, what ended, where are there new beginnings, where have you sort of mentally untangled a lot of things and maybe stepped into something totally new. And with Neptune moving into Aries after these eclipses really finish up, it's sort of like, okay, now a lot has changed. What do you want to dissolve mentally that's no longer serving you? What do you want to dissolve in terms of, like, any limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, thoughts that really are preventing you from whatever it is you really want to create? Or maybe there's just a general dissolution where you're starting to look at life differently and starting to create new ideas, new visions for yourselves. Either way, I think this is going to be a long journey where a lot of Taurus risings are going to be able to see so much more potential and possibilities in their lives, mentally and ultimately physically. Hello, Gemini risings. We are kicking off on March 1st, day 1. Venus goes retrograde in your Aries 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals. So definitely pay attention to a potential revisionary time involving, who you surround yourselves with, your social network, your long-term goals could be up for sort of a revisionary period. Now with Venus rules your 12th house of the subconscious and also rules your Libra 5th house of joy. This is the place of joy. So whatever, this kind of tells me, again, it depends on your natal chart, but generally how I look at this is sort of like, I think a lot's going to be playing out for many Gemini risings this month. And this could be the point where you really are mentally, like heavily mentally thinking about, your social network, your long-term goals, what's really in alignment, what's really bringing you joy. I think you're going to start to, the 11th house is a very social house, but Venus ruling the 12th and the 5th is sort of like, I think a lot could be sort of transpiring externally, but I think a lot of Gemini risings this month are going to be thinking a lot in the background that no one sees. So I would lean into sort of what's going on mentally, what's going on with your life visions. Where can you take some time alone, some solitude to start really thinking about the changes that are maybe transpiring for many of you and how it's changing your social network, your long-term goals, and sort of how you enjoy life, the place of joy. This Venus retrograde will eventually retrograde back into your Pisces 10th house of career and public recognition. So I think for a lot of Gemini risings, this is going to kick off, that revisionary period, but ultimately something could be transpiring in the career, the business, or the public recognition. But I'll get to Venus retrograding back into this area towards the end of the month. But for right now, this Venus retrograde in your Aries 11th house of social network and long-term goals is really, really important, because Venus towards the end of the month is going to become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon, like how a new moon is a new beginning, a new opportunity. Venus will become a morning star. So Venus will rise in the morning and will be a new Venus, creating a new 18th month cycle. So because Venus rules your 12th and your 5th, it's sort of like there could be the intention to create new life vision for yourselves, new subconscious thought patterns that support your joy, support your creativity, your self-expression. Now, the 5th house also rules children. So if children are applicable to you, you could be really thinking about your children, having children, and how that plays into your life vision. What's going on mentally with that situation? How does it play into your long-term goals, etc.? But regardless, this is a really important time to start reviewing and revising what you really love and value about who you surround yourselves with, your long-term goals, maybe even career, public recognition, and how ultimately it's going to support your mental health and your ability to enjoy life. So March 14th, we're going to skip right to March 14th when we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. Now, before I jump into this, yes, the eclipse is exact on March 14th, but eclipses are very unpredictable. So a lot of times people see the events transpire weeks before the eclipse happens. So please take into consideration things could start to happen before the 14th. Now, this full moon lunar eclipse at 23 degrees. So if you know your natal chart and you have anything close to 23 degrees, you really want to consider that placement and how it's playing into the story. Now, this full moon is a culmination, a chapter closing, something being seen, heavily illuminated around home, family, property, real estate. Some of you might be doing something within the home. Some of you might be renovating, relocating, dealing with property, real estate. If it's not the physical home, it could be the people you live with, situations really coming up and transpiring with, family or relationships with family. So there's a lot on the table. But whatever starts to trickle in the end of February, beginning of March, involving those themes of home, family, property, and real estate, pay very close attention to it because the eclipse could be sort of playing something out, culminating something. Now, again, I will do a separate podcast episode where I'll go into much more detail about what this could specifically mean because eclipses are so unpredictable. What's interesting is the ruler of this full moon lunar eclipse in your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate is Mercury. And Mercury is pretty much stationing to go retrograde. So March 14th, the eclipse happens. March 15th, Mercury officially goes retrograde in your Aries 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals. So again, what is culminating, being illuminated around home, family, property, and real estate, or even career, because this is angular. So maybe something's playing out with career that's affecting home and family, or maybe something is playing out with home and family that's affecting career. That's now having you review and revise your identity, how you want to show up in the world. What foundation, home, family, etc., is going to support you, but also support maybe the career, the long-term goals. So something is definitely happening on the career, home, and family axis in your chart that seems to be initiating a strong revisionary period around who you want to be, what home, family, property, real estate situation is going to fully support you in aligning yourselves to your long-term goals regarding public recognition and even career. On March 27th, that Venus, like I mentioned in the beginning, Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 10th house of career and public recognition. Now, by essential dignity, Venus is pretty well resourced. Venus is exalted in your Pisces 10th house. So, yes, she's retrograde, but she's exalted. So at least she's, in a place of exaltation that's fairly well resourced for Venus. So with Venus retrograding back into your 10th house of career and public recognition, remember, Venus is now a new Venus, like a new moon. And this could shift the situation for Gemini risings where you're still reviewing and revising, your thoughts, what's going on mentally, your life vision, also what's going on in terms of joy, creativity, self-expression, and even children, if that's applicable to you. But now, because Venus is a new Venus, this new 18th month cycle is really kicking off. And it's happening in the area of career and public recognition. So this could definitely be an interesting point where maybe you're starting to see a new beginning or a new chapter around career, public recognition. Even, the ability to step into more joy or creativity and self-expression. But you're maybe still observing it. Venus is retrograde, so it hasn't, the story's not over yet. This honestly looks like something maybe playing out with career, or maybe you're seeing something transpire and create sort of a new cycle here. But it might take some time to kind of actually get the ball rolling. So, which I think a lot of you will see come April next month. Now, March 29th, there will be a new moon solar eclipse in your Aries 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals at 9 degrees. So if you have anything at 9 degrees, please take that into consideration. But ultimately, this new moon solar eclipse is creating new goals. Maybe you're meeting new people, new friends, new groups, new communities. So again, maybe some of you, there's something playing out with career that's having you, meet new people or work with new people, or changing your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. So this new moon is sort of helping you create that new chapter or new opportunity for yourselves to expand your social network and, unfold, moving towards those long-term goals. Additionally, as this new moon is creating, the new opportunity, the new chapter around social networking goals, Mercury retrogrades back into your Pisces 10th house of career and public recognition. So as this eclipse is happening, your ruling planet, Mercury, rules you and also rules your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate, retrogrades back into that Pisces 10th house of career. So again, this could be bringing you back to maybe reviewing and revising sort of a home and family situation and how that's affecting career, or how career is affecting the home and family situation, and ultimately, what is going to support you, how you want to show up in the world, your identity, how you want to be, what you want to be known for. So again, looks like things are initiating, things are happening, but it seems like in some way maybe Gemini risings are seeing it, but there's still some things working behind the scenes, or there's a transition period going on right now to align yourselves to the direction you really want to take, maybe with home, family, career, that's really ultimately going to support you and what you want to be known for, how you want to show up in the world. So very, very interesting time, but ultimately this all leads up to March 30th, when Neptune enters your Aries 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals. Now, Neptune entering your 11th house could be initiating a journey where a new perfection can unfold among your social network. So consider ways to dissolve boundaries involving your dreams and aspirations to create more potential and possibilities to your social network and your goals, while also inspiring others to attain new heights as you do this. So Neptune entering your 11th house could be a really interesting journey of seeing where, when you start to dissolve the boundaries that are preventing you from seeing all the possibilities of dreams, aspirations, goals, your social network, and you start to see the possibilities and the paths sort of open up through the dissolution of those walls or boundaries, you could find yourselves in a position of inspiring other people in your social network, your groups and communities, to reach new heights themselves. Hello, Cancer risings. We are kicking off the month on day 1, March 1st. Venus goes retrograde in your Aries 10th house of career, business, public recognition. Now, this is important because Venus will eventually retrograde back into your Pisces 9th house of growth and potential. So, spirituality, higher education, travel, publishing, teaching. So, I'll get to that towards the end of this month. But Venus kicking off the retrograde on March 1st in the area of career and public recognition definitely looks like something is being revised or sort of reviewed between, yes, career, public recognition, but also home, family, property, and real estate. So some of you might be looking at any situation regarding themes of home, family, property, and real estate, how it's sort of playing into something regarding career, business, public recognition, or vice versa. The other thing that could be up for revision with this regarding maybe a home and family situation or career could also be your social network and your long-term goals. So it definitely looks like a lot of Cancer risings are going into March really looking at, okay, how can I really focus on what I love and value, and how can I sort of either rewrite the script or make necessary changes, excuse me, to, the career, the business, and also sort of like home, family, property, real estate, the foundation, the sacred space in your life. What's changing with home and family? What's changing with career? That's also having you look at who you surround yourselves with and those long-term goals. Now, this is also very important because towards the end of this month, Venus will become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon. So Venus is going to sort of initiate a new 18-month cycle. Now, this could be also bringing up similar circumstances from 2016, 2017, more 2017 with the Venus cycle, where you can choose something different. Maybe you have the wisdom, you have the life experience around, your social network, your goals. Maybe a lot has transpired around home, family, property, real estate, that now you're choosing something different. You're creating a new 18th month cycle that's hopefully for all Cancer risings, creating more love and value to your social status, your career, your public recognition, and who you surround yourselves with. So definitely start thinking about sort of a new way of existing, being, involving those themes. But I think a lot of Cancer risings can start to see sort of like new cycles start to transpire around, your home environment, people you live with, family, career, etc. Now, March 14th will be the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. So if you have anything at 23 degrees in your natal chart, please take that into consideration. But before I dive into the eclipses, again, I will do a whole separate podcast just on these eclipses to get more into detail. But eclipses are very unpredictable. So yes, this is a full moon eclipse happening in your third house, but third house and even ninth house themes could amplify weeks before this. So as you enter March, start to pay attention to your daily environment, your familiar environment, relationships with siblings, extended family, communication, short distance travel, your phone, your car, your laptop, all the things that are sort of in your familiar environment that sometimes we either take for granted or are just so familiar they kind of fade into the background. So definitely look for culminations, chapters involving, home, family, property, and real estate. If your IC is in your Virgo third house, especially the last, 10 degrees, definitely look for familiar environment, daily environment, but also sort of situations playing out with family, home, property as well. So this full moon is a full moon on steroids. It is illuminating something. It is closing something out, it is culminating something, changing something regarding your familiar environment. Or, like I said, for some of you with your IC in the Virgo third, home, family, property, and real estate as well, really playing into this. So, what's interesting about the full moon lunar eclipse here in your third house is the ruler. The ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury is literally gearing up to go stationing to go retrograde in your Aries 10th house of career, business, and public recognition. So this tells me a lot of Cancer risings, like something's going on with your day-to-day environment, siblings, extended family, like I said, maybe home and family themes coming up where something changes, something happens, and it could initiate many of you into this revisionary period around how that's going to affect career, business, public recognition. So this could be a very simple thing for some of you. It could just be something completely shifts in your daily familiar environment, and it's forcing you to make revisions to your business, your career, your public recognition. Or some of you, it could be, to a greater magnitude where literally your familiar environment, home, family, something is happening that's having you make bigger changes to your social status, your career, your business, public recognition area of your chart. So again, that Mercury will station retrograde on March 15th, so the day after the full moon eclipse happens. Mercury will retrograde at 9 degrees. So if you have anything around 9 degrees of Aries or just generally in your chart, you definitely want to take that into consideration. But whatever, it's just really interesting the timing of this, because Mercury will eventually go direct and then conjunct the North Node in your Pisces 9th house of growth and potential. So whatever sort of transpires, whatever shifts, changes, culminates, closes, ends, it could definitely create sort of this revisionary period around your career. But it looks like the end goal here, whatever transpires, is that it's ultimately trying to get a lot of Cancer risings to focus on the growth and potential, the spirituality, the travel, the publishing, the teaching, the higher knowledge area of your chart. So definitely start to consider what is playing out. Again, you could feel the effects of this eclipse literally going into March. You don't have to necessarily wait till March 14th. So you could really start to see things trickle in and see how maybe it's playing into a much larger story for you. On March 27th, Venus then retrogrades back into your Pisces ninth house of growth and potential. Again, higher knowledge, spirituality, travel, publishing, teaching, etc. So Venus retrograding back into Pisces, Venus usually feels a little bit better in Pisces because it's the place of exaltation for Venus. But some of you with Venus retrograding back into this Pisces ninth house, some of you might be sort of reviewing and revising, okay, the growth and potential, but how it's maybe playing into your social network or your long-term goals, as well as home, family, property, and real estate. So whatever you're reviewing and revising to create more love and value towards what you like, the growth and potential you're really trying to increase, especially throughout 2025. Also consider how that could positively influence your living situation, who you live with, relationships with family, as well as, your long-term goals. So at this juncture in the Venus cycle, March 27th, Venus retrograding back into that Pisces ninth house of growth and potential. Remember, Venus is now a new Venus, sort of like a new moon. So Venus has initiated that, roughly 18-month cycle of sort of initiating something new, creating something new, gestating to birth something new that could involve a living situation, relationships with family, long-term goals, growth, and potential in your lives. So again, consider how the area of growth and potential, spirituality, higher knowledge, travel, publishing, teaching, really anything you're specifically pursuing for growth and potential could really initiate a much larger 18-month cycle that could positively influence your social network, your goals, living situation, relationships with family. Now on March 29th, there will be a new moon solar eclipse in your Aries 10th house of career, business, public recognition. So this will be at 9 degrees. So if you have anything roughly around 9 degrees in your chart, take that into consideration. But regardless, this is sort of the last new moon in the Aries Libra eclipse cycle here. Off the top of my head, maybe for another 8 or 9 years. So this is a really opportunistic time for Cancer risings to consider how whatever is playing out or has already played out at this point, how you can initiate new opportunity, new chapters, new beginnings involving your career, your business, your social status, your public recognition. So this, especially because the Mars retrograde, I think, put a lot of Cancer risings in a deep revisionary period around sort of, maybe situations with children, joy, romance, career, business, public recognition. Now that Mars is direct and it rules, it is the ruling planet of this solar eclipse in the area of business and public recognition, tells me that, whatever's transpired, look for the newness, the new opportunities where the plan of action, the core motivations, and the core desires can start to transpire here, specifically in the area of social status, public recognition, career, business. Now, additionally, on March 29th, as this solar eclipse is happening, Mercury will be retrograding back into your Pisces ninth house of growth and potential. So again, higher knowledge, spirituality, travel, publishing, teaching, anything you're pursuing for growth and potential. Mercury is having you look at your familiar environment. For some of you, home and family. Definitely ruling the area of communication. So maybe you're communicating, you're exchanging information, you're looking at your daily environment And you're also sort of untangling any subconscious thought patterns and how the growth and potential is supporting that, or it's initiating some form of revision around the growth and potential area of your chart. Now, March 30th, I think so much will transpire throughout March and definitely into April, but what's interesting is so much for Cancer risings is tying back to the area of social status, career, business, and public recognition. And it's sort of all leading up to March 30th when Neptune enters Aries. And it's been a long time since Neptune has been in Aries. And so Neptune entering your 10th house of career, social status, public recognition, business could initiate a journey of dissolving or releasing expectations of what success or public recognition looks like. And some of you could initiate a journey of opening yourselves up to all possibilities regarding career and social status. Hello, Leo risings. We are kicking off March, day 1, March 1st, when Venus goes retrograde in your Aries 9th house of growth and potential. So higher knowledge, spirituality, travel, teaching, publishing, writing. So really anything that you do to increase your growth and potential in your lives. So with Venus retrograding here, it could definitely initiate the revisionary process involving, yes, growth and potential, but how does it play into career, business, public recognition, and also creating maybe new ways of communicating, exchanging information, and sort of work like your inner workings in your familiar environment. So this is very, very important because Venus will eventually retrograde back into your Pisces 8th house of transformation and other people's resources, which I will get to as we get to the end of the month. But it's also important to note that this is a very opportunistic time in the month. When Venus goes retrograde, Venus is gearing up to become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon, to create a new 18-month cycle. Now, because Venus rules your 10th house of career and public recognition, as well as your 3rd house of communication, familiar environment, and sort of exchanging information, you can really start to think about maybe how the revisionary period around the growth and potential you really want to create over the next 18 months, or what's not only going to increase your growth and potential, but it's also going to consequently positively affect your career, your public recognition, and how you communicate with the world. So definitely good time to start thinking about that, especially before the end of the month, where things start to maybe become more financial or more transformational in this area. On March 14th will be the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. This is in your 2nd house of earned income, innate gifts, talents, self-worth. But before I jump into this, I think it's important to note that eclipses are very unpredictable. And the themes that I'm going to go into, definitely pay attention to these themes as you enter March, because a lot of times things can happen, a couple weeks before the actual eclipse and even a couple weeks after the eclipse. So yes, it's on the 14th, but consider how what I'm mentioning or the particular themes could be starting to trickle in or amplify as you enter March. So March 14th is the actual culminating moment, that full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. This is happening in your 2nd house of earned income. Also, the 2nd house is what's yours, what's mine. your gifts, your talents, your self-esteem, your self-worth. So this is definitely a hella culminating moment. Something's really being illuminated. Maybe a chapter is closing financially. Maybe something is shifting financially for Leo risings. But what's interesting is that where this eclipse is happening, it's trine your 10th house of career and also trine your 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. So consider how, maybe shifts or changes to your finances, your gifts, your talents, and or your self-worth could positively influence your health and career. So what's interesting about this full moon is the ruler of this eclipse, this full moon eclipse, is Mercury. And Mercury is stationing to go retrograde the next day. So eclipse happens on the 14th. Following day on March 15th, Mercury goes retrograde in your Aries 9th house of growth and potential. So it looks like something shifts around your self-worth. Maybe you're seeing your self-worth, you're sort of closing out chapters around your self-esteem or self-worth that sort of played out over a long time. Maybe some of you are shifting into a new financial chapter. And maybe some of you are really seeing and stepping into your innate gifts and talents. And something shifts or happens in this area that the ruler of this eclipse goes retrograde, and it initiates this revisionary period, yes, around growth and potential, but how it may be playing a part in your finances, your social network, your long-term goals. So something could be definitely, it looks like a lot of March is like the central hub is playing back to the area of growth and potential. So if you travel for work, if you're continuing education, higher education, any spiritual pursuits or projects, publishing, teaching, if any of those are really heavily a thing in your lives right now, it could be really tying into like that could be the area where you really see your gifts and talents. That could be the area where maybe you're seeing how your finances can shift into a new chapter. So whatever is being reviewed and revised around your growth and potential, it's definitely playing into your finances or your self-esteem and how it could maybe shift or make positive changes to career, health, routines. So very, very interesting. I'm, if you're new here, I'm a Leo rising as well. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, this could be the long-awaited chapter many Leo risings have been ready to step into. So again, look out for those themes and look for how, delays, pausing, reviewing, revising, how you are pursuing growth and potential or investing in your growth and potential is really also investing in your financial future and your self-esteem, also your social network and your long-term goals. Okay. Now on March 27th, Venus will retrograde back into your Pisces 8th house, like I mentioned in the beginning. So Venus will retrograde back into its place of exaltation, which I think might help the situation. With Venus, sorry, my creaky door. Venus rules that 10th house of career and public recognition, as well as the 3rd house of communication. So with Venus entering, although it's retrograde, it's still in that revisionary period, entering its place of exaltation, it could sort of help create some opportunity or support to like seeing the next step with career, public recognition, etc. So also keep in mind, March 27th, like, yes, Venus has retrograded back into this Pisces 8th house of transformation, transformational work, other people's resources. It is now a new Venus. So that new 18-month cycle is really being initiated now. So good time to really focus on how you communicate, exchange information, your familiar environment, the steps you want to take toward your career, your public recognition over the next, like what you want to really create over the next 18 months regarding those themes, but how, other people's resources, a partner's resources, your financial investments or transformational work is also being reviewed or revised to support this new 18-month cycle. Now, March 29th, we have the new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees. So if you have anything around 9 degrees, definitely want to take that into consideration. But this new moon solar eclipse, again, this is the last of the Aries Libra axis with the eclipses. So great opportunity for Leo risings to initiate new opportunities, new chapters, plant new seeds around growth and potential in your lives. So again, this ninth house of growth and potential seems to be a central hub this month. Things are sort of tying back to this area that was heavily, for many of you, heavily reviewed and revised with the Mars retrograde. So what, with the new moon happening here, what new seeds can you plant regarding spirituality, higher knowledge, stepping into leadership, stepping into sharing knowledge with others, creating like a new height of knowledge and expansiveness here. So additionally, what's really interesting about March 29th, as this new moon solar eclipse is, providing an opportunity for many Leo risings to initiate that new chapter around the growth and potential you really want to step into and unfold, especially in 2025. Mercury retrogrades back into Pisces the same day. So whatever new beginnings or new opportunities around growth and potential takes place, you could be starting to look at the investment around it. How are you like reviewing and revising, investing in the growth and potential, reviewing and revising your resources, your transformational work that's also tying into this growth and potential many of you are wanting to step into and seek in 2025. So there definitely could be financial themes playing out, looking at where, your finances are, your investments, your assets, your debt, partners' resources if applicable, transformational work, and how all of that might be tying into where you really want to go in the future. Now, it's also important to note this new moon solar eclipse happening in the Aries 9th house. The ruler of it is Mars, and Mars is direct in your Cancer 12th house, which the Mars retrograde there, I'm recording it as it's happening. It's brutal, y'all. It is. If you're feeling that's the subconscious, the thoughts, the sleep, that area just be ripped to shreds, you're not alone. I'm recording this in January, and I'm looking at this new moon solar eclipse on March 29th in the area, like that new chapter of growth and potential, but with Mars finally being direct in the 12th house, I'm hoping that this is sort of providing the ability to sort of move things forward, like initiate that plan of action, initiate the desires, the motivations that many of us have sort of been forced to untangle. But the 12th house is solitude. So a lot of us have been doing it alone. So I'm looking forward to the forward movement there and that planet being finally direct. And maybe the new moon in the Aries ninth will be sort of the tides turning, so to speak, where we can really initiate that new chapter around growth and potential, where recently a lot of us have been forced to wait, pause, untangle thoughts, subconscious thought patterns, even on our own. So I'm looking forward to this. So I've got high hopes. And, like I said, a lot seems to be tying back to the Aries ninth house, which ultimately leads up to March 30th when Neptune enters your Aries ninth house of growth and potential. So Neptune entering your ninth house could initiate a journey of dissolving anything blocking your growth and potential, and even help focus on all possibilities or the path to inspiring others and yourselves to reach new intellectual and even spiritual heights. Hello, Virgo risings. We are kicking off March, literally on March 1st, when Venus goes retrograde in your Aries 8th house of transformation. So, transformational work, other people's resources, like your partner's resources, if applicable, investments, assets, debt, loans, you know the deal. 8th house is a financial house, but more of like a long-term financial house or resource house in addition to the transformation. And so with Venus retrograding here, it could definitely, because Venus rules your second house of earned income, it could definitely amplify financial themes for a lot of Virgo risings, your resources, your material possessions, and, what's going on financially or what's going on transformationally that is playing a part in your growth and potential. So maybe some of you are looking at your finances, student loans, partners' resources, and you're looking at continuing your education or traveling, investing in your spirituality. Maybe some of you are writers, publishers, teachers, and you're looking at your resources, your finances to invest in that. So I think this could definitely kick off, the eclipse season where you could be reviewing and revising what you really love and value about the areas of growth and potential in your life and how your finances, your self-worth, your transformational work are sort of helping you invest in that throughout 2025. Now, what's really important about this Venus retrograde is at the end of March, Venus will become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon phase. So a new Venus is kicking off a new 18-month cycle where Venus becomes a morning star. So this is a really opportunistic time in the beginning of March to consider sort of what new year and a half, 18-month cycle do you want to initiate around your gifts, talents, finances, growth, and potential in your life that you really want to play out in 2025 and even into 2026. So March 14th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. Now, you are a Virgo rising. So this is angular. So it's very important to know that eclipses happening in the first house of the physical body, appearance, and identity could definitely culminate, make changes to that area. But because it's angular, it could be a personal or professional partnership, a home and family situation, and career. So eclipses happening in the angular houses of your chart can really shift things. It could really change the more visible external areas of our lives. So again, you could feel this eclipse and the events sort of shifting, changing, and transpiring a couple weeks before March 14th. So just keep that in mind as you enter March. Pay attention to the area of yourself, body, appearance, partnership, home and family, career, so that you can sort of see where things are trickling in. You know, it's important to pay attention early so you can say, oh, I think this might be more about a career situation or a home and family situation or a partnership situation. So definitely important to pay attention to that. But regardless, it's at 23 degrees. So if you have any placements, angles at close to 23 degrees, you definitely want to take that into consideration. If you have your ascendant close to 23 degrees, you really want to pay attention to this, because this full moon lunar eclipse is culminating something. It's closing something out in your first house of self. So really pay attention to, you know, your needs versus the needs of others. How, you know, what is really going to support you, you know, your appearance, your body, your identity, as you know, that you really want to culminate and work on or make changes. But definitely pay attention to sort of your needs versus the needs of others in partnership, and the necessary changes to home and family and or career that might need some action or, you know, need to take place in order to create that balance. What's interesting about this full moon lunar eclipse in your first house of self is that the ruler, your ruling planet, Mercury, will be stationing retrograde the following day. So eclipse happens and it's sort of like something shifts and changes regarding you, that's also, you know, playing out maybe in partnership, career, home, and family, that now has, I think, a lot of Virgo risings at this point, you know, spinning off into a revisionary period around what is really going to serve you, what's really going to support your career and your public recognition. So I think a lot of Virgo risings might be looking at, you know, your closest partnerships, like who, you know, balancing your needs versus the needs of others. How can you really create more of a supportive environment, even at home? That ultimately can really support how you want to show up in the world, what you want to be known for, and also support sort of your, you know, expanding your career, your business, your public recognition, or social status. So something shifts and changes, and then I think it sends a lot of Virgo risings into this revisionary period around like, wait a second, based off what just happened, like, how can I best support myself? Like, what is going to really align my highest goals in life, my social status, my public recognition, my career? So, you know, whatever transpires throughout March, I think you could definitely go into a strong revisionary period. But I think it's also important to note that that revisionary period is going to go direct and conjunct the North Node. So it's ultimately trying to, I think, align a lot of Virgo risings to, you know, alignment. What is really going to align not only to you and maybe even to career, but I think a lot of Virgo risings might really be looking at the area of partnership with the North Node in the area of marriage, and long-term partnership, including professional partnerships. So definitely pay attention to the area of partnership throughout March in general. Now, the March 27th, like I mentioned in the beginning with the Venus cycle, Venus is going to retrograde back into your Pisces 7th house of marriage and or long-term partnership, including professional partnership. Venus is exalted here, so that helps the situation. But Venus rules your second house of earned income and self-worth, as well as your Taurus 9th house of growth and potential. So I think a lot could come into focus regarding personal and professional partnerships, what's being reviewed and revised, how can a more supportive environment transpire, but also, where can you, some Virgo risings, like where can you create more love and value in your partnership that helps you create the desired change in career, home, and family? Where can partnerships feel more supportive for all involved to initiate the action and change you want to take with career or home, family, property, and real estate? So it's also important to note on March 27th, when Venus retrogrades back into the area of partnership, Venus is now a new Venus. So this is when the new 18-month cycle sort of really kicks off, even though Venus is still retrograde. So a lot of you can start maybe creating new cycles around, your finances, your self-worth, how those areas of finances and self-worth also play into personal and professional partnerships. What new cycle, what new chapter do you want to transpire throughout 2025 and even into 2026? Yes, with partnership, but how can you create partnerships that really support your self-worth, your ability to anchor yourselves in your self-worth, and also create a win-win financially, where ultimately your growth and potential can also take place. So I think for a lot of Virgo risings, it could be, looking at the people you surround yourselves with, partnership, getting clear on what you really love and value within personal and professional partnership, so that you can really maybe move your lives into the next chapter that you've set your sights on, basically. Now, March 29th, there's going to be a new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees. So this new moon solar eclipse in Aries, we've had a lot of eclipses in Aries and Libra the past couple years. This is the last one in Aries to take place. So this is a really opportunistic time, I think, to get very clear, create new chapters, plant new seeds financially, and or with transformational work that can sort of play out, yes. But I think with whatever's going on with career, maybe I think a lot starting to sort of amplify in the personal and professional partnership arena, how it's really, where can a more supportive environment, getting clear on what you really love and value, so that you can get, anchor yourselves into self-worth, get clear financially to, move into, hopefully, I think for some of you, a new 18-month cycle of, anything you're pursuing for growth and potential in your lives. But I think this new moon solar eclipse can be a really great time to finish off the Aries Libra axis, which is predominantly a financial axis in your chart. And so, with whatever's transpiring, how is it maybe inspiring you to transform certain areas of yourself or your life? Where is it inspiring to maybe pay off debt or to make investments. Some of you might also be inspired to sort of create new systems of finances with your partner, looking at your partner's resources, if that's applicable as well, and how that can create a new financial chapter in your lives. Either way, when this new moon solar eclipse is taking place here, Mercury retrogrades back into your Pisces 7th house. Now, Mercury rules you, it rules your physical body, yourself, but it also rules your 10th house of career. So I think you, career, personal, professional partnerships really sort of continues to play out as, some new beginning is setting, maybe financially or with, transformational work or, a partner's resources, that's having you look at your personal and professional partnerships and how it can really help you step into maybe the new phase that you want to step into career-wise, or step into a new phase of maybe, identity, appearance, what's really going to support your physical body so that you can achieve your goals, you can achieve, your career, even like financial stuff that's sort of playing out for many of you going into March. And what's interesting is, yes, I think a lot is going to start amplifying for a lot of Virgo risings in the area of personal and professional partnership and the changes to career, home and family, and even self. But a lot of March is leading up to this Aries 8th house of transformational work and resources, like financial resources or your partner's resources, where on March 30th, Neptune enters Aries. And it's been a long time since Neptune has been here. So it's interesting how things are playing out and leading up to certain planets ingressing into these areas, where Neptune entering your 8th house, I think, could initiate a journey of mutual empowerment within personal and even professional partnerships, where, the mutual empowerment could be emotional, physical, and or financial. So consider how your ideals within partnerships, personal and or professional, could be limiting the mutual empowerment. Consider how other people's ideals might be limiting the mutual empowerment. But ultimately, consider how these limitations with Neptune could be dissolved to create more intimacy, more possibilities with intimacy, and also finances. So sort of, especially when Saturn joins the party here, dissolving outdated structures and boundaries and systems around transformational work, mutual empowerment, how you merge with within personal and professional partnerships, and how the dissolution of outdated systems or structures to achieve mutual empowerment, whether it's financial, physical, emotional, can actually open up a whole new path of possibilities and potentials financially and also transformationally. Hello, Libra risings. On March 1st, your ruling planet, Venus, will go retrograde in your Aries 7th house of marriage and long-term partnership, including professional partnerships. Now, Venus will eventually retrograde into your Pisces 6th house, which I'll get to towards the end of the month. But for now, as you enter March, it could be a really interesting time, a potent time with the Venus cycle, to consider your needs versus the needs of others. Reviewing and revising what you really love and value about yourself and what personal and professional partnerships support that so that you can also support others. Now, other things that could come up with this Venus retrograde in the area of partnership could bring up transformational work as well as financial or other people's resources, including a partner's resources. So any long-term financial planning, a partner's resources, if applicable to you, and any transformational work that could sort of play into this revisionary period around partnership, maybe a new chapter in marriage or a long-term partnership, regarding what you need, how you can feel supported so that you can support other people, including any transformational work or any long-term financial management as well. It's important to consider sort of, what you really want to step into regarding your physical body, your needs, personal, professional partnerships, and any long-term financial goals or situations you really want to culminate in 2025 and 2026, because Venus is going to become a new Venus at the end of this month, sort of like a new moon. So it's like this new 18-month cycle where I think a lot of Libra risings, this is your ruling planet, can step into a new 18-month cycle, involving your physical body, appearance, identity, as well as, the personal and professional partnerships that feel supportive to you, and also how you can also support the needs of others through transformational work or sort of, resources as well. So looking at your finances, looking at resources, looking at transformational work to maybe assist and support this new 18-month cycle involving partnership and your own physical body, appearance, identity, and how you really want to show up in the world, how you want to feel. Now, March 14th is the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. So if you have any placements around 23 degrees, you definitely want to take those into consideration. But before I jump into, briefly talking about the eclipse, it's important to note that you can feel the eclipses a couple weeks before. So you could see changes, culminations, sudden things coming up as you enter March. You don't have to wait for the actual eclipse. Eclipses are very unpredictable. So things can transpire a couple weeks before and a couple weeks after. But the area that you should really focus on is the 12th house and also the opposite house, the 6th house, so the mind-body axis. Where, what's going on mentally, subconsciously, what's going on with maybe some of you wanting to seek more solitude, more rest, recharge. How can you balance the mind, the body to really support a health situation or a work situation or both? So something might be really shifting, changing, culminating around your work, your health, your life vision, mentally, subconscious thought patterns kind of playing into the situation that's really coming to light, closing out, culminating, that could be shifting and changing the situation with your mind and body regarding, your health and or your work. So definitely pay attention to those themes, but more specifically, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury. And Mercury is stationing retrograde around this eclipse on the 14th. So Mercury actually goes retrograde on the 15th. So eclipse on the 14th, Mercury retrograde on the 15th. But I think we're going to feel it regardless. So when Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse, going retrograde, sort of tells me there could be a situation where there is a shift, there is a culminating moment, a change going on, mentally, physically, between work and or health, that could initiate a revisionary period around your partnerships. So whatever's going on mentally, physically, work, health, routines that's playing out for you, shifting, changing, whatever it may be, you could really start to look at the closest people you surround yourselves with. What personal and professional partnerships are really supporting you mentally, physically, with, your work, your health, your routines. Now, the sixth house also rules coworker, so it could be a professional relationship playing into this as well. So again, personal and professional. But I think whatever shifts and changes, it's definitely this really interesting revisionary period around, maybe partnerships that are supporting you, or maybe, maybe it's not about a particular individual. You could just be reviewing and revising your idea of partnership. What, after these shifts and changes that have happened for some time now for many Libra risings, you could be going into a phase of really looking at the personal and professional partnerships you need now, based off those changes. So it's ultimately, if we zoom out and we look at the full transits of these planets retrograde, they're going to go direct and conjunct the North Node. So ultimately, I think whatever revisionary period around, personal and professional partnerships, whatever's going on with mind, body regarding, work and or health, it's ultimately, I think, leading up to some sort of alignment regarding work and or health. But first, I think there could be some revisionary period regarding, who you surround yourself with and your partnerships, and maybe communicating your needs in order to align that. So March 27th, that's when, like I mentioned in the beginning, your ruling planet Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 6th house. So Venus by essential dignity is exalted here. So I'm hoping that this gives Venus a little bit more resources to work with regarding mind, body, transformational work, resources with work and or health that ultimately can support your physical body appearance, identity, and how you really want to show up in the world. So it's important to note on March 27th, when Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 6th house of daily work, health, and routines, it is also now a new Venus. It has entered a new phase. So a new 18-month cycle has really started to initiate. And so this could, initiate that, the unfolding of the next 18 months around the health and work situation, or, wellness, routines, etc. That's really going to support your physical body appearance, but also support your long-term financial goals, your transformational work, your resources as well. On March 29th, there will be the second eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse in your Aries 7th house at 9 degrees, 8-9 degrees. So if you have anything around 8-9 degrees, you definitely want to sort of tie that into the story here. But basically, this is a new beginning, a new chapter, planting new seeds in the area of personal and professional partnerships. So again, it's very interesting how things are sort of always, it seems like whatever's playing out in March is somehow tying back to the other in your life, the others, the partnerships, the personal, professional partnerships in your life. And sort of when you get to the end of the month, you can sort of plant new seeds and maybe initiate new chapters. Again, things are still sort of retrograde, still sort of working themselves out. But maybe this is the point where you get clear around, your needs versus the needs of others, and what those partnerships can look like, where the potential lies in those partnerships. And this could be marriage and And like I said, personal, professional partnerships. Now, what's interesting is the ruler of this eclipse, Mars, has recently gone direct. And there was, a lengthy revisionary period going into the early 2025 involving finances, your self-esteem, your self-worth, your value, and in addition to personal and professional partnerships were, this heavy revisionary period involving finances and any close partnerships in your life. And now when we get to March 29th, really the end of March, it looks like a lot of Libra risings are going to be stepping into initiating a new chapter after this lengthy revisionary period, where maybe you can not only align your financial goals, your gifts and talents, but also anchor yourselves into your self-esteem, your self-worth, your value, to align yourselves to the personal and professional partnerships that are supportive to all involved. Additionally, on March 29th, Mercury will retrograde back into your Pisces 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. So while this new moon is initiating new chapters after a lengthy revisionary period regarding finances, self-worth, and partnership, Mercury retrograding back into your 6th house could have you looking at maybe your subconscious thought patterns, reviewing and revising your subconscious thought patterns that affect your work, your health, your routine. And you could also be looking at growth and potential possibilities in your lives to support the health, the work, and also your mental health as well. So some of you could be seeking knowledge, travel, spirituality, writing, teaching, or really anything that you seek for growth and potential to help support not only your health and your work, but also balance your mind and your body. Which ultimately, again, a lot of March seems to be tying back to this Aries 7th house of personal and professional long-term partnerships. Because on March 30th, Neptune enters your Aries 7th house of partnership. It's been a long time since Neptune has been here. And again, I will post a whole separate podcast episode on Neptune because this is a lengthy journey. But basically, March leads up to this March 30th day when Neptune moves into your Aries 7th house, which could help initiate a journey of dissolving ideals and even fantasies of who people are. So you can maybe dissolve any boundaries, structures, outdated things to maybe see people for who they really are, meet them on the level that they're at, instead of the ideals or even the fantasies or illusions that might take place within personal and professional partnerships. So you can actually allow the unfolding of experiencing others for who they really are and just simply experience being truly human with another. Hello, Scorpio risings. On March 1st, Venus goes retrograde in your Aries 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. It will eventually retrograde into your Pisces 5th house, which I'll get to towards the end of the month. But for now, Venus retrograding in the area of daily work, health, and routines could initiate a revisionary period around your overall vitality, your wellness, your relationships with coworkers, and just daily work and health routines. But more specifically, Venus rules your 7th house and it also rules your 12th house. So maybe there's a component or like a part of you that is also, some of you might be seeking solitude during this revisionary process to untangle what you really love and value, to untangle sort of what's going on mentally, and in order to align yourselves to the work, the health, and the routines that are going to balance your mind and your body. Now, with Venus also ruling the seventh house, some of you might be looking at personal and or professional partnerships that are supporting the revisionary process around your health, your work, or your routines. So what long-term close partnerships, whether it's personal or professional, could you really turn to, you know, integrate more value into your work or more value into your health or your routines? Who could really support you in this revisionary process? Regardless of the situation, this is a really important time because Venus at the end of the month, which I'll get to, is going to become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon. So Venus is going to become a new Venus towards the end of the month, initiating a new 18-month cycle. And for you, this could involve, your personal and professional partnerships, your life vision, your subconscious thought patterns. And it's sort of initiating how maybe partnerships or subconscious thought patterns, your life vision is playing out with your routines, your health, your work. So, how we feel mentally, our life vision, our personal and professional partnerships heavily determine, our day-to-day vitality, our health, our wellness, our ability to show up with work. So, this is a really potent time, I think, for Scorpio risings to focus on what subconscious thought patterns do you want to positively initiate? What personal and professional partnerships, like what vision do you have for your personal and professional partnerships? And how can both of those areas of your chart really, how can you see it supporting your health, your routines, and your work over the next 18 months? On March 14th, there will be a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. So if you have anything close to 23 degrees in your chart, you definitely want to consider those placements. But before I jump into the eclipse, it's important to note how unpredictable eclipses really are. And just because the eclipse happens on March 14th, a lot of times what I see is the events transpire, even a couple weeks before the eclipse. So some of you might start to see the areas or certain things start to trickle in regarding, your Virgo 11th house. So friends, groups, communities, long-term goals, your social network, your dreams, your aspirations, right? So very social public house. And this full moon lunar eclipse could definitely culminate something, culminate a goal, close out a project, a goal. Something could be closing out or culminating within your community, your social network, your friends. Or something could be heavily illuminated within your social network or your long-term goals that you couldn't see before. Either way, you definitely want to look at, your friends, your groups, your communities, and your long-term goals and consider what could be sort of illuminated or culminated around those themes. But more specifically, the ruler of this eclipse, Mercury, is stationing to go retrograde pretty much almost the same day. So the eclipse happens on March 14th and Mercury stations retrograde or goes retrograde in your Aries 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. So again, a lot of March keeps kind of boomeranging back to this Aries house, which is very interesting. But considering this eclipse, I would definitely look at your friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals, like I mentioned. What's culminating, closing out, ending, being illuminated. That is somehow shifting or changing. That's now initiating a revisionary period around your work, your health, and your routines. So maybe there's a shift or something culminating around a long-term goal, friends, groups, communities, that now has you sort of revising your work. Maybe a side business or, a work project or relationships with coworkers. Some of you, something might be going on with friends, groups, and communities that now has you revising sort of your health and wellness routines. Regardless of the situation, it's definitely something is shifting, changing, or culminating that sort of is sending a lot of Scorpio risings on this revisionary period regarding health, work, routines, and even coworkers. So definitely look out for those themes to really start trickling in, because you'll sort of gain those contextual clues and maybe early on see, okay, I think this is the area or the situation that might play out, and then you can kind of zoom in on your own individual chart. So March 27th, like I mentioned in the beginning, is when Venus retrogrades back into Pisces. So March 27th, Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 5th house of joy. This is really the area of children, if applicable to you. Romance, creativity, self-expression. So Venus is exalted in Pisces, so this might help the situation being exalted. But now we have to consider, when Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 5th house, it's now a new Venus. It's now in that new, it's initiating that new 18-month cycle I talked about. So where some of you might be envisioning, what you need within personal and professional partnerships, what you need mentally, maybe some of you, it might be, just off the top of my head, like how you can feel more mentally supported in partnerships, personal and or professional. But ultimately, with Venus retrograding back into your 5th house, maybe some of you are starting to now consider the next 18 months and how, what's going on mentally, what's going on with personal and professional partnerships, and how that is now having you look at or review and revise your creativity, your creative projects, your own self-expression within personal and professional partnerships. And now, if this is personal partnerships and you have children, this is definitely going to be a thing. So you could be sort of reviewing and revising your routines within your marriage and or partnership, and how that plays into childcare, or, what feels more supportive to you, your partnership, and child or children. But because Venus rules the 12th, it can also signal sort of like what situation can also relieve you mentally or allow you to have more space or solitude to support your mind, your body, and be able to show up for professional and personal partnerships, and also show up for your children. And so if you're married, you're in a partnership, you have children, that could definitely be a strong theme that comes up throughout this month, where something changes around your goals or your social network that, initiates the health, the work, and the routines, but how that might also affect the marriage or the partnership and also the children. But if you zoom out and you look at the whole movement of these transits, I think it's ultimately to, I'm not going to say definitively, But I think there's a lot of potential for Scorpio risings to create an outcome that increases more joy in your life. So, whatever changes, whether they're challenging, welcomed, whatever it may be, I would focus on the end goal of what needs to take place in order to create more joy, self-expression, creativity, and even romance in my life to, feel more pleasure, feel more joy over the next couple months. So the eclipses might help change and shift things to get that ball going, but it might require changes to your routine, stepping into more health and vitality, making sure you're sleeping, taking time, even if it's for a few minutes a day, taking time to yourself to just think and be in your own energy. And also, how can personal and professional partnerships, how can you allow people or seek partnership that is healthy, creates balance, and supports you so that you can support them, right? Additionally, as we get to the end of March, on March 29th, we have the second eclipse. Now, March 29th is a new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees. So if you have anything at 9 degrees, you definitely want to take those placements into consideration here. But again, we're boomeranging back to this Aries 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. So as things change, shift throughout March, what new beginning, new opportunity, or even planting new seeds regarding work, health, routines, even coworkers can take place? Now, what's interesting is the ruler of this eclipse, Mars, has been now direct, where the first couple months of 2025 was a heavy revisionary period regarding your physical body, appearance, health, work, and routines that I think now is coming to a head. Now is, where maybe a lot of Scorpio risings, you're starting to take the plan of action. You're starting to align to maybe the desires and or motivations around, the health, the work, the routines that, partnerships can maybe support or is going to provide you the joy, the creativity and self-expression you need for yourself, your own creative pursuits, and even for your children if applicable. But ultimately, how is all of this going to allow you to step into a stronger physical body, show up in the world, how you want to be seen, how you want to feel? So I think this new moon solar eclipse in Aries is the opportunity to initiate that new chapter around the core motivations, the core desires, and even plan of action that for a lot of you was under heavy revision the first couple months of 2025. So I would definitely consider how personal and professional partnerships can support that area, but also support the area of joy, and how all of that is serving a stronger you, a more aligned identity, and you showing up in the world the way you want to feel and appear. And again, the Aries 6th house is really, culminating to this March 30th moment when Neptune enters this Aries 6th house. So it's sort of this is a very interesting month where, not only the eclipses are taking place, but again, things keep coming back to this house of health, work, and routines, where on March 30th, when Neptune finally enters this area, it could be sort of officially like initiating that journey of dissolving where you might be self-sacrificing or where you have self-sacrificed in the area of work, health, routine, and ultimately like how you've sacrificed in being of service to others. So this could definitely, a lot's leading up to sort of initiating this long journey of dissolving outdated patterns, beliefs, structures, especially with Saturn entering this area this year, where this, you know, where maybe you've been a martyr, maybe you've self sacrificed, or, you know, have constantly tried to strive for perfection around your work, your health, and or routines that could have affected your work and or health negatively, right? Putting so much pressure on ourselves with reaching, perfection, or constantly being of service to others but not serving ourselves. So Neptune coming here could definitely dissolve those out. It's a long journey with Neptune, slow moving planet. But I think ultimately a lot of March is a lot of shifts, changes, beginnings, endings that ultimately lead up to Neptune's ingress to initiate that journey of maybe releasing unrealistic expectations you've put on yourselves, so you can focus on the more joyful parts of vitality, work, routines, where you can serve yourselves and others. Hello, Sagittarius risings. On March 1st, Venus officially goes retrograde in your Aries 5th house of joy. Now, the 5th house is also children. So if you have children, or if that's a strong theme coming up now and that's applicable to you, I would definitely pay attention to that. But the 5th house is also your creative pursuits, projects, self-expression, and romance. It's a fun house. And so with Venus retrograding in your Aries 5th house, you could definitely be sort of reviewing and revising your friends, your groups, your communities, and even your long-term goals, as well as your work and your health, and how that might be affecting your time with children or affecting your ability to step into your creativity, your self-expression, and most importantly, your joy. So some of you might be really looking at sort of, okay, who am I surrounding myself with? What are my goals, my work, my health, and how is that really affecting my ability to step into more joy, more romance, more time with my kids, more creativity? If creative pursuits or artistic pursuits are part of your work, you might be sort of revising your approach around it. You might be looking at your social network differently, your goals differently, your routines to maybe shift or change something around your creative projects or artistic pursuits. It's important to remember that this Venus will retrograde back into your Pisces 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate towards the end of the month. So it might shift the story or that revisionary process involving home, family, property, and real estate themes. So I'll get to that towards the end of the month. But it's really important to remember that as Venus retrogrades in your 5th house, it is a really opportunistic time to think about the new 18-month cycle you want to initiate around work, health, routines, social network, and goals. Because towards the end of March, Venus will become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon. So Venus is going to initiate a new 18-month cycle where you can gestate and, well, with the 5th house, maybe literally, but also metaphorically birth a new life involving your goals, your social network, your work, your health, your routines. So really, really potent time to start thinking about and envisioning, where you want to maybe choose something different based off your wisdom or life experience that ultimately can create more joy, more romance, more pleasure, more creativity, more, experiences with your children if applicable to you. Then on March 14th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. This is taking place in your 10th house of career, business, and public recognition. So, before I jump in here, it's important to pay attention to career, public recognition, and even home and family as you enter March, because eclipses are very unpredictable. So, although the eclipse happens on March 14th, you could see events transpire a couple weeks before the eclipse. So definitely pay attention. I would say more specifically, pay attention to sort of career, business, public recognition, home, family, property, real estate themes. That could be the areas or source of the culmination or change or shift. So March 14th, again, full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. This is a hella illumination around career, social status, public recognition that could definitely create a shift or change to home and family, property, real estate, or there could be a home, family, property, real estate situation that creates the shift and change to career, business, or public recognition. Now, other areas that might require you to take action or change to balance whatever shift and changes happen is definitely taking care of your physical body and also turning to the most supportive personal and professional partnerships in your lives. So, definitely look to this is angular for Sagittarius rising. So, this could be very visible. This could be very external changes or shifts happening for you. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury is stationing to go retrograde in your Aries 5th house of joy, children, creativity, self-expression, romance. So whatever shift, change, culmination starts to really happen in career, business, public recognition, or even for some of you, it could be the opposite house, home, family, property, real estate, or for some of you, it could just be both. This Mercury going retrograde the day after the eclipse, ruling the eclipse, is sort of like whatever shift and change happens, it could definitely send you into a strong revisionary period around your creative pursuits, your self-expression, and situations with your children, and ultimately what is going to bring the most joyful outcome in your lives. So, for example, some of you might be looking at home, family, property, real estate, and how changes to that obviously are going to affect your career, your business, your public recognition, and vice versa, right? Career, business, public recognition also affecting the change to home, family, property, and real estate. But it doesn't matter, either one, the ruler of this eclipse is stationing retrograde in the 5th house. So there is a heavy revisionary period or emphasis around how is this going to affect my children? How is this going to affect my creativity, my self-expression, my ability to step into, enjoying life, joy, pleasure. So I think ultimately it could be a really good time to focus on whatever craziness might be happening or shifts and changes. Where can you anchor yourselves into what feels the most aligned to your joy? What feels most aligned to the greater good for you and your children? What feels most aligned to your creativity and your self-expression? What foundation, what home, relationships with family, career, business, public recognition is going to support those areas. Once we get to March 27th, Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So this might help a lot of Sagittarius risings look at your living situation, people you live with, relationships with family, relocation, renovation, redecoration, whatever it may be, and how it is fully supporting and generating more value to your social network and your long-term goals, as well as your health and your work. So this could be a really valuable time to not only initiate a new 18-month cycle of like what you really want to transpire over 2025 and 2026 around work, health, goals, social network, but how does it all boil down or come back to your living situation? What home, family, relationships, property, and or real estate situation is going to fully support your vitality, your health, your work, your routines, your social network, and your goals. So this is when, it's also important to remember on March 27th, when Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate, it's now a new Venus. So it's whatever you're revising around home, family, property, real estate themes, it could be playing into helping you or supporting you or getting you to that new 18th month cycle, right? Whatever you want to step into or change in 2025 and 2026 around work, health, routine, social network, long-term goals, it's going to require a level of change, right? So I think at this point, the change that could be coming up for a lot of you is relationships with family, a relocation, a renovation, property, real estate. What is your living situation? How is it fully supporting you and stepping into what you want to create and what life you want to move towards in 2025 and 2026? On March 29th, we have the second eclipse. This is the new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees. So again, a lot of March is somehow tying back into your Aries 5th house of joy, children, romance, creativity, self-expression. So whatever transpires, it's somehow coming to March 29th to plant new seeds, to create new beginnings and opportunities around creative pursuits, creative projects, self-expression, romantic situations, and or children, situations playing out with your children. Which is interesting because the ruler of this eclipse initiating this new chapter here was retrograde the first 2 months of 2025. So there was a heavy revisionary period around maybe romantic situations with your children, creativity, creative pursuits, and also sort of maybe your mental health, your subconscious thought patterns. How was your mental health, your subconscious thought patterns, maybe limiting beliefs showing up with your creativity, your self-expression, romantic situations, children, etc., or limiting or affecting your ability to step into or align to joy? Now, Mars, that ruler, is direct. And this new moon, so Mars rules this new moon in this Aries 5th house. So it could be the time to initiate the plan of action or initiate the core desires and motivations that were under heavy, a strong revisionary period. Affecting finances, resources, transformational work, which could have been really challenging for a lot of you. And now I think it's time to move things forward and to, solidify that plan of action around aligning to your joy, your creativity, your self-expression, and even, children if applicable to you. But I think it's also requiring some sort of focus or alignment to home, family, property, and real estate. Now, additionally, on March 29th, as this new moon eclipse is initiating that new chapter or opportunity in the 5th house, Mercury retrogrades back into your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So this is sort of continuing that revisionary process, potentially around personal and professional partnerships, career, business, public recognition, and how it's playing into home, family, property, and real estate. What's being reviewed, revised, delayed. That is sort of having you heavily revise personal and professional partnerships as well as career themes or social status to find the best possible outcome with home, family, property, and or real estate. Then again, a lot's coming back to this Aries 5th house. So a lot of shifts and changes again play out in March and ultimately lead up to March 30th when Neptune enters your Aries 5th house of joy, children, creativity, romance. And it's been a long time since Neptune has been here, like a long, long time. And again, I'm going to do a whole separate podcast on this, going into a lot more detail, planets affecting it, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Neptune entering your 5th house could initiate a long journey of redefining your creativity and relationship with your inner child or your heart's desire. And I think this could also bring up sort of authentically expressing your creativity and playful side to see how that attracts aligned individuals and even inspires other people. So it's sort of like by stepping into your heart's desire, stepping into your authentic creativity, aligning yourselves to joy could consequently be magnetic in attracting aligned individuals. So it's sort of like there can be more ease around these themes, but it might require you to dissolve or redefine your approach to this area. Now, for those looking for committed partnerships, this transit could be a great time of acknowledging and expressing your needs for loyalty. Now, a lot of people don't think of loyalty and Neptune in the same room together. But I think when on a deeper level, if you're single, if you're seeking committed partnership, I think especially Saturn Neptune conjunction happening here will hopefully, I think, not only redefine your relationship and patterns to joy and creativity, but I think when you express your need for loyalty, or loyalty can be established in relationships, if that's what you're seeking, there can be a level of boundlessness that can occur, right? If you have trust, if you have loyalty, you can, you're not there is a level of boundlessness and expansiveness that can take place because you're not bogged down by the lack of trust or the lack of transparency or the lack of honesty. So I know a lot of you are like, what, loyalty, Neptune? No way. But I think it could be a great time to redefine the structures, the patterns, and the boundaries to create new systems and structures that feel joyful, expressive, positive, playful, that allow the freedom and the boundlessness and the expansion within romantic situations, relationships with your children, creativity, and most importantly, your own self expression. Hello, Capricorn risings. On March 1st, Venus goes retrograde in your Aries 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. Now, at the end of the month, Venus will eventually back up into your Pisces 3rd house. So we'll get to that at the end of the month. But for now, this could definitely initiate a revisionary period around, finding more love and value within your home, within, where you live, your own sacred space with family or, people you live with. So Venus also rules your 5th house of joy, romance, children, if applicable to you, as well as your 10th house of career and public recognition. So this could be a time of really reviewing and revising your creative projects, your time with your children, your romantic situation, as well as just your career and how, some of you just could be looking at, how do I balance time at home with time with career, with time with family, children, romance. So I think a lot of Capricorn risings are going into March looking at like how maybe changes to your career that might be necessary to find that point of balance around having more time for joy and fun or time with your kids versus work, home, family. So it's important to note that this is a really important time with this Venus retrograde, because at the end of the month, it will not only back up into your Pisces 3rd house, which I said I'll get to, but Venus will become a new Venus. So sort of like a new moon. And so this could initiate a new 18-month cycle around relationships with your children, if applicable, romantic situations, creative projects, as well as career and public recognition. So what do you want to sort of gestate and metaphorically or literally birth into the world regarding joy, children, creative projects, career, public recognition, that could sort of initiate change or be a point of balance with career, home, and family? So I think all in all, March looks like a really interesting month for Capricorn risings around what needs to change around maybe career, public recognition, 5th house themes that all sort of tie back in really interesting ways to sort of changing and finding ways to be, have a more supportive home, family, property, real estate situation. Now, March 14th is the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. It's important to remember that eclipses are very unpredictable. And just because the eclipse is happening on March 14th, it's sort of like things can happen 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. So literally as you enter March, I would definitely look for things sort of ending, culminating, shifting, changing, for you specifically in the area of the 9th house. So higher knowledge, spirituality, travel, publishing, teaching, any growth and potential that you seek in life, or just right now, that could be a point of shift, change. If you've been working on a project regarding, publishing, teaching, spirituality, higher education, anything along those lines, this could be a culminating moment with that. So definitely, like I said, pay attention to those themes. What is changing, culminating, shifting? that could initiate a strong revisionary period around home, family, property, and real estate. This full moon lunar eclipse in your Virgo ninth house of growth and potential, again, all those themes I mentioned, is this really strong, culminating, illuminating moment. But the ruler of this eclipse, Mercury, goes retrograde the next day in your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So whatever is shifting around, and for some of you, it could be career. So whatever's shifting around career, public recognition, teaching, publishing, higher knowledge, spirituality, travel, could have you reviewing and revising home, family, property, and real estate. So some of you might be looking at, how is my home fully supporting the growth and potential that's changing in my life, or career that's changing in my life? Maybe you're also reviewing and revising a home, family, property, or real estate situation to step into more growth and potential that you want to see change and shift over the next year and a half, 2 years. Then on March 27th, Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces third house. The third house is your familiar environment. It's communication, exchanging information. So this is where you might start to review and revise your immediate surroundings, your communication, exchanging information, and how that plays into also supporting your career, your public recognition, and also aligning yourselves to more joy, more creativity, more romance. So some of you might be sort of looking at your immediate surroundings and thinking about, what you really love and value, how you can maybe create more value in your immediate surroundings that can positively impact your career, your growth and potential, and, most importantly, in my opinion, joy. Then on March 29th, we have the second eclipse. Now, again, a lot of March comes in really interesting ways, ties back into the Aries fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So on March 29th, we have this new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees, initiating a new chapter, a new opportunity, planting new seeds involving any themes regarding home, family, property, or real estate. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mars, and Mars was retrograde the first couple months of 2025. So when I zoom out and I look at the full perspective or the full scope here, this is interesting because the first couple months of 2025, I think a lot of you could have been experiencing a really strong revisionary period of involving home, family, property, real estate, as well as your social network and your long-term goals. So a lot of you could have been in this really strong revisionary period around how can I create a more supportive home environment for my long-term goals and my social network, or how can I revise my social network and my long-term goals that can ultimately support, where I live, home, family, etc. Now we get to March 29th and you get to initiate a new chapter or a new opportunity around core motivations, desires, and even a plan of action regarding a home, family, property, or real estate situation. It's also important to note that on March 29th, when this new moon or new chapter is taking place here, Mercury retrogrades back into your Pisces third house. So this is where whatever new chapter, new beginning around, again, maybe those core motivations and desires, that strong revisionary period around home, family, property, real estate, as well as your goals and social network. When that happens, Mercury sort of creates an opportunity to revise, yes, maybe your familiar environment, maybe communication with your familiar environment and who's in it, but also sort of how maybe your living situation, home, family, property, and real estate is also supporting your health, your work, your routines, growth, and potential. So I don't think it's just about your home, family, property, real estate situation. I think a lot of you might be looking at like, where can my sacred space or the foundation of my life not only support, my goals, my social network, even career growth and potential, but also, my health and my routines. So I think a lot of Capricorn risings are really, there's a strong emphasis on what is going on foundationally and how is that drastically impacting other major areas of your life, or how are a lot of you reviewing and revising these areas of your life, and how is it sort of having you make changes or create sort of new ways of existing within your foundation, your home, family, property, real estate, etc. Which again, coming back to, I'm a broken record, this Aries fourth house, a lot of March, yes, shifts, changes, eclipses, retrogrades. It's all sort of leading up to March 30th when Neptune enters your Aries fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. It's been a long time, long time since it's been here. And with Neptune entering your fourth house, this could be initiating a new journey and even new layers of creating emotional satisfaction and even safety with family or those you live with by dissolving expectations of what home or family has to look like. Hello, Aquarius risings. On March 1st, Venus will retrograde in your Aries third house of communication, but really the third house is your familiar environment. So, and things within your familiar environment. So maybe it's extended family, siblings, your phone, your car, your laptop. But I think with Venus retrograding in this Aries third house, it could be sort of revising, yes, your communication. It could be revising sort of how you exist within your familiar environment. So it's also important to note that Venus rules your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate, as well as your Libra ninth house of growth and potential. So some of you might be revising your immediate environment, communication within your environment, and how that is creating more love, more value within your home, and also potentially creating more love and value to your growth and potential in life. It's important to remind yourselves that this is a very potent time with Venus retrograde in this area, because at the end of March, Venus will become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon, initiating a new 18-month cycle involving growth, potential, home, family, property, and real estate. So this could be a really great time to start looking at your familiar environment, your immediate environment, how you operate and exist within that environment, including communication, exchanging information, but how you can start to think about the new vision or the new way of, what you want to gestate and sort of birth over the next year and a half, 2 years regarding your growth and potential and any situations, that you want to create with home, family, property, and real estate. So for some of you, it might be sort of envisioning a new frontier of growth and potential with spirituality, travel, higher knowledge, writing, teaching, and how creating a more sacred, valuable space within your home or just within the home in general with people you live with or family can also aid in that frontier. So definitely a potent time to start thinking about the sacred space that you need within your home. What home environment do you really want to cultivate in addition to that familiar day-to-day environment that's under revision right now for some of you, and how that can ultimately create the foundation for the vision you have for that growth and potential in 2025 and 2026 with Venus. Now, March 14th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. It's important to remember that eclipses are very unpredictable. And just because the eclipse happens on March 14th, eclipses often have, beginnings and endings happening 2 weeks before and even 2 weeks after. So as you enter March, definitely pay attention to things sort of transpiring that could be playing into, for you, 8th house themes. So this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo is a strong illumination around transformational work and resources, even financial resources, including your partner's resources, if applicable. So something could be shifting and changing financially or transformationally. Definitely look to, this could be a culminating moment around, being able, it's an illumination, it's a spotlight in your financial houses. And this could be a moment where maybe you see a resource that you didn't see before, or something is illuminated or shifts around your partner's resources that provides you to see something that you couldn't see before. What's really interesting is that the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury stations retrograde the following day. So eclipse happens on the 14th. The ruler of this eclipse goes retrograde March 15th. And Mercury going retrograde in your Aries 3rd house is very interesting, because whatever's shifting, changing around transformational work, your resources, including your partner's resources, could be initiating a revisionary period around your familiar environment. It could be playing into sort of your awareness, or sort of looking around at your day-to-day familiar environment and how, is it really supporting your joy? Is it really supporting your creativity, your self-expression, your heart's desire? So I think this could be a time of shifting and changing around, maybe gifts, talents, self-worth, transformational work, resources that are somehow playing into maybe a desire or a heart's desire to change the day-to-day, or change the way you operate within your familiar environment to align yourselves to more creativity, more joy, more romance, more of your heart's desire. And maybe there is a resource, either your own or a partner's, that sort of gets illuminated or comes into the situation that sort of allows you space to do that. So very, very interesting, because a lot is sort of coming back to this Aries 3rd house this month. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning, with Venus on March 27th, Venus retrogrades back into your Pisces 2nd house of earned income, self-worth, also, what is yours, your innate gifts, talents. And Venus retrograding back into Pisces could have you sort of, it's interesting with the eclipse happening in the 8th. I think Venus retrograding back into your second house after the eclipse takes place in your 8th house, which is also a financial house, is having you sort of review and revise your, maybe for some of you, a financial situation, your gifts, your talents, to sort of create more, like you could be creating more value with your gifts and your talents and your self-worth based off the shift and the change. So Venus retrograding back into your second house, I think some of you, with Venus ruling the 9th house, I think some of you might be looking at your gifts, your talents, your finances, your self-worth, and thinking about, maybe financially investing in your growth and potential, financially investing in a sacred space, home, family, property, real estate, or how your growth, anything that could increase your growth and potential, as well as create maybe like a refreshed or new sacred space within your home, can consequently positively affect or allow you to step into a new year and a half, 2 years of, financial abundance, more gifts, more talents, and anchoring yourselves, most importantly, in your self-worth and your value. So definitely Aquarius risings this month. It looks like there's definitely some shift or change around a financial situation or a partner's financial situation or resources that is having you sort of, like, it could be like creating more space to look at things differently, right? It's all coming back to the 3rd house, which is communication, but sort of, yes, your familiar environment. So I think whatever shifting and changing, it's like creating more openness or time to revise maybe areas of life that, you maybe haven't had time to look at, or to sort of shift how you operate in your immediate environment and how you use that space or that time to increase, finances, increase gifts, talents, growth potential, but also maybe take some time to like create more of a sacred space, or like more like energetic value within your home to do the things that you want to do. To, in order to create more growth and potential in our lives, we have to create the space for it. So in some weird way, as I'm looking at this, it just looks like a lot of Aquarius risings, like you're getting more space and time to initiate this new 18th month cycle, where you can get that space and time, and maybe even the resources and support in order to do so. So I would say definitely anchor yourselves into the growth and potential mindset, the abundance mindset, and whatever you need to do in your familiar environment or your home to make space for that to come in 2025 and 2026. Now on March 29th, we have the second eclipse. So we have the new moon solar eclipse in Aries. Again, things boomeranging back to this Aries 3rd house of yours, where there is whatever is sort of unfolded, shifted, or changed, that's sort of somehow having you loop back or boomerang back to, your familiar environment, your communication, exchanging information. There is this opportunity to create a new chapter and new opportunities to shift your environment, to change the way you operate, communicate within your familiar environment, whether it involves extended family, short distance travel, whatever it may be, that starts to maybe open up new chapters and new opportunities to work, health, your physical body, appearance, and identity. So definitely look out for, how creating the new chapter and the new opportunity in that third house can create like the what's coming through for me when I look at this. The best way I can describe it is sort of like the very small shifts and changes within your day-to-day familiar environment can create huge changes or returns elsewhere. Like sometimes all it takes is a shift in perspective or a new way of operating, going to a new store, doing a short weekend trip somewhere you've never been, communicating or exchanging information that's new to you. Like all it takes is a minor shift in perspective that seems to somehow be playing into these other areas of your chart regarding finances, resources, gifts, talents, growth, and potential. So it's really, really interesting. I think for Aquarius rising, I would say, just start small. Like it can be really simple. It can be really minor, simple shifts that can have a huge ripple effect in the other areas of your life. Now, as this new moon solar eclipse is creating this new opportunity in your Aries third house, the same day Mercury retrogrades back into your Pisces second house. So this is again tying back, pulling things back around to how can you, especially with the North Node here, how can you look at your resources, your transformational work, and align yourselves? Like, how can you align your financial resources, your self-worth, your gifts or your talents to your joy, your creativity, your self-expression? So this could be sort of coming back around or creating that revisionary period that's having you sort of revise or think about, okay, how do I anchor myself into my innate gifts and talents that feel like there's more ease, right? With the fifth house connection, it's like, how can you create more expansiveness and more ease to your finances, your gifts, your talents, your self-worth that also align to authentic self-expression, creativity, joy, romance. So I think a lot of this month, with Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, eventually going direct conjunct the North Node in that second house, it's sort of like, how can you fully stay anchored in your self-worth, your gifts and talents, where it's almost like I think there could be a big shift in perspective for Aquarius risings this month, where some of you might start to see, if I just focus on the growth and potential, my, the resources that are available to me, the transformational work, the creativity, the self-expression, the money or material abundance comes. Where maybe focusing too much on the money or the material abundance sabotages your heart's desire, sabotages your creativity or your growth and potential, and sort of misaligns the situation. So, sort of finding the balance between those worlds. We have to make money, we have to survive. But I think whatever shifts and changes are going on, a lot of Aquarius risings could start to see where you can really truly believe in yourselves. You can believe in your gifts, your talents, you know, your intuition, your in how focusing on the growth, the potential, the opportunity, the resources, and more of the joyful parts helps align you to synchronicities or opportunities for financial, material, and even just your own self-worth abundance. And again, this whole month just keeps coming back to this Aries third house, where yes, there's a lot of shifts, changes, retrogrades going on, but ultimately it leads to March 30th when Neptune enters your Aries third house. And it has not been in Aries for a very, very long time. And so Neptune entering your third house could ultimately start to initiate a journey of communicating more with your intuition instead of what you think you should say. So some of you might start to unfold the emotional satisfaction of yourselves and others when you get to witness your words having a healing and even transformative effect on those around you. Hello, Pisces risings. On March 1st, we really are kicking off March with this Venus retrograde in your Aries second house of earned income and self-worth. Now, Venus rules your third house and it also rules your eighth house. So some of you could definitely be heavily focused on finances, resources, and or transformational work, and how changes to your familiar environment or how you communicate in that environment is sort of either helping or under revision affecting your finances, your resources, etc. So maybe some of you are communicating or sort of revising or making changes within your immediate environment to sort of initiate or look at sort of a financial situation or a financial opportunity or transformational work. Either way, this is a very important time because Venus at the end of March is going to become a new Venus, sort of like a new moon. And this is going to create a new 18-month cycle where you can sort of gestate and literally or metaphorically birth something new. Now, because Venus rules your third and your eighth, you could be creating new ways of operating in your day-to-day environment, new ways of communicating. And for some of you, you could be sort of like investing in your financial future, really focusing on how do I invest, pay off debt, or sort of, assets, those kinds of things. And if you're partnered up, some of you might be really looking at sort of your partner's resources. Now, with the eighth house tie, the eighth house, I like to think of the eighth house as where like legal or financial documentation kind of takes place. So inheritance, trust, wills could also be a thing that comes up here where you're sort of reviewing or revising those situations or those things to make necessary changes or step into. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is I think this Venus retrograde could really help Pisces risings look at maybe a partner's resources, if applicable, or sort of where can you step back and sort of start to envision a new financial future. Then we get to March 14th. Now, March 14th is when the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees takes place. But before I get into it, it's important to remember how unpredictable eclipses really are. And how just because the eclipse is happening on the 14th, a lot of times the events start to transpire up to, sometimes up to 2 weeks before the actual eclipse takes place by degree. And so as you enter March, it's very important, especially for Pisces risings, to really pay attention to people, places, things that are sort of really amplifying, culminating, changing, shifting, ending. And for you Pisces risings, the eclipses are happening now in angular houses. So this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo is really illuminating, culminating, ending, closing out chapters around, something within marriage, personal, professional partnerships. Something could be like maybe there was something within personal or professional partnerships that has been playing out for some time, and now you can walk away from it or you can close it out together. This doesn't always necessarily mean like your marriage is ending or, a partnership is ending. This could be something that you've been working on together. This could be something that, has transpired over quite a bit of time. And this is sort of helping you close that chapter out. Either way, because this is an angular house, definitely pay attention to things that are directly affecting you, shifting how you show up in the world, and necessary changes to career, home, and family that need to maybe take place in order to allow the shift and the balance to take place. The ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury will be stationing retrograde the following day. So eclipse on the 14th, Mercury retrograde on the 15th. And this Mercury retrograde is sort of, for me, I'm looking at it like, okay, what does this really mean? Because if we have an eclipse in a Mercury ruled area, that could be creating a shift, a change, a culmination around personal, professional partnerships, or your approach to personal and or professional partnerships. Whatever is shifting or changing, it's initiating a revisionary period financially. That could also be tying into a home, family, property, or real estate situation that's also playing out. So whatever shift and change is happening, you could be looking at your finances, you could be looking at your self-worth, and any necessary sort of revisionary period or, revising, maybe even, perfecting the home, the family, the property, the real estate situation. So yeah, again, these are angular houses for you. So it's very external. It's very public. Some of you are going to probably see it more externally, and it could really initiate sort of the redefining your approach to finances, resources, self-worth, and how that might be playing into a home, family, property, real estate situation. Now, March 27th, like I mentioned in the beginning, Venus will retrograde back into your Pisces first house. So this is, at this point on March 27th, Venus is now a new Venus, like I mentioned, like the new moon. So it's sort of initiating the new 18-month cycle here. But on March 27th, that Venus retrograding back into your Pisces first house could start, you could be initiating a new 1.5 to 2-year cycle. But this is the point where maybe some of you start to review and revise how you can love and value yourselves the most in the situation. How can you really, focus on your physical body, who you really are, how you want to show up in the world despite what is happening, and really anchoring yourselves in that and being able to, you know, communicate and create the day to day environment that's going to support that, as well as any transformational work or resources that can also play into revising how you want to really love and value yourselves to show up in the world. What do you want to be known for? So, very, very interesting how yes, it is a new Venus. We are initiating this new 18-month cycle that could be creating, a new cycle of finances, resources, communication, and a new day to day environment. But it's also potentially asking a lot of Pisces risings to not forget about yourself, your physical body, your appearance, how you want to show up in the world and how you want other people to view you as well. So I would say, all in all, don't forget about yourselves and remember to whatever shifts and changes are really happening throughout March that might include personal and professional partnerships. It might include home, family, property, and real estate situations playing out. Don't forget your part of the story too. It's important that, you balance your needs to support your body, your well being, your health. So don't forget about you, Pisces. Then on March 29th, we have the second eclipse. Now, March 29th, this new moon solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees is a new moon on steroids, new opportunity, new chapter financially. Also, your self worth, material possessions, gifts, talents. So, how can you initiate with everything going on this month? How can you keep coming back to creating a new financial chapter, a new chapter of self worth, a new chapter of stepping into your innate gifts and talents? Now, don't forget, the first couple months of 2025 was a really strong revisionary period around your finances, your self worth, your gifts, your talents, also growth and potential opportunities. Where where are some of you looking at your growth and potential, your spirituality, travel opportunities, higher knowledge that could be playing a part financially or playing a part within your gifts, talents, self worth? That now you might be really initiating that new phase, that new chapter, planting those seeds to get that plan of action, the core motivations and the core desires around what was potentially under heavy revision the first couple months of 2025. Additionally, on March 29th, Mercury retrogrades back into Pisces. So, Mercury rules your seventh house of personal and professional partnerships, including marriage. It also rules that Gemini fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So, some of you might really be looking at balancing your needs versus the needs of others, including, people you live with, your partnerships. Some of you also, like if you're single, some of you might be really looking at or revising your needs within a partnership. What's changed, what is changing, and how has that changed your needs and how you need to be supported within partnership. This could also be a potential revisionary period around home, family, property, real estate themes and how they are really supporting you. How can you review and revise the home, the living situation, people you live with, where some compromise or some situation could play out that can also support you as well. So again, a lot is sort of amplifying in the area of you personally, but also what's interesting is a lot is playing out throughout March, where there's a lot of beginnings, culminations, even endings, revisionary periods that are sort of activated with everything else going on, that keeps coming back to what is really supporting you, but also coming back to that Aries second house of earned income, gifts, talents, self-worth, where it's all coming to March 30th when Neptune enters your Aries second house. Now, Neptune hasn't been in Aries for a really long time. Again, I'll do a whole separate podcast episode on this and how, Saturn's influence and etc. Is gonna, definitely play a part in this long journey here. But I think, Neptune entering your Aries second house after all these eclipses and, retrograde movements and everything that's sort of transpiring throughout March, that keeps coming back to your second house. This could definitely initiate a journey of releasing outdated patterns that undermine your self-worth. This could also empower many of you to use your gifts and talents to build something worthwhile. When you see your innate gifts and talents being used as a service to others, you can hopefully establish universal value that's beyond just monetary gain.